Good morning. I'm Travis from A Faithful Dad. We're a ministry that encourages dads and families right where they are. This is our video ministry called A Faithful Dad Speaks. We take a topic, we consider how God's word applies, and it always applies. And the topic this week is a difficult one, and it's this: no way out? Is that a question you've asked yourself? Is there no way out? Whether it's a personal situation, something going on in your own life. Maybe it's a work situation. Maybe it is something going on with school. Maybe it's something going on in a host of different things, but whatever that situation is, and maybe it's multiple things at once where we can see no way out and we start to panic. We start to get scared. It's almost like, for us men, a tie too tight, like, oh, wait a minute, where can I find relief? And that it is a frightening feeling. And I'm actually, as you've probably seen the pattern here, a lot of times when I'm doing these messages, because I'm walking through it right now, that's the way these messages have a lot of times gone. God will, hey, talk about this. And so, yeah, that's where I am with this, and though I can't reveal the situation specifically, I can say I know what you're talking about. So no way out, no way out. And you know where I'm going with this. I'm going to take us to God's word. Specifically, the passage I'm going to rely on is Isaiah chapter 59, verse 1. And this is God speaking. And listen to this. He says this. He says, "Surely the arm of the Lord is not too short to save, nor his ear too dull to hear." A little bit of humor, maybe a little bit, criticality in that. But hey, is God's arm too short to save you? Can his ear, is he too dull? Is he deaf? Is he, and if I could extrapolate, is he too blind to see what's going on in your life? In other words, we see there's no way out, but clearly, God's retort here, God's answer is, hey, can I save you? And the answer, we know where we're going with this. Yes, he can. I'm going to make 3 points. The first point, I've kind of referenced before, is number 1, don't panic. When we can't find a way out, when we feel desperate, the north is hemmed in, the south is hemmed in, the east and west doors are closed. There's nowhere to go but to look up. And we think, on our horizontal relationship here on earth, that there is no way out. There may not be a way out immediately, but the minute you feel that tie is too tight, the minute you feel that there is no egress, we can panic. And when we panic, we act in silly ways. A lot of times I think about deer and root, as they call it. When the deer are running after, they'll run out in front of trucks. They're not panicking, but they're not using their heads. And that's the same thing that happened to us. We can panic. And we act in ways that are counterproductive. Let's just say it that way. So my encouragement to you and to me is to not panic. You just, be still and know that I am God. That kind of sentiment. Don't panic. Point number 2. Point number 2 is consider your humanity. As we're looking at things, as we humans are looking at things, let me put this down, we only see things from our vantage point. And God has given us insight into things. There's some of us who read crowds better, read situations better, but to varying degrees, we are all limited in our perspective. We can only see what we can see. We can hear what we can hear. The experiences God has allowed us to go through, he's given us wisdom in that. But it is a limited wisdom. It is a limited perspective. It is a limited vantage point. We can't see beyond, honestly, right now, we can't even see beyond 5 minutes from now. But when we're in these situations where we're feeling panic, when we're in these situations where we're feeling we have no way out, that there's just, I'm darned if I do, I'm darned if I don't, we need to remember our humanity, who we are. We are humans. We are flesh and blood. And there is some comfort in that, because when I look at it, when Travis looks at it, I'm done. I'm ready. I see what I have. I'm ready to fold. Let me put that down and fold. And that's why I'm encouraging you to consider humanity, because our options are limited. Our options are, what we've gone through. And that leads me to our third point. And the third point is this: remember God's perspective. Remember God's perspective. Back to the scriptures. Surely the arm of the Lord is not too short to save, nor his ear too dull to hear. God has, he is sovereign. He's made everything. All that we see, all that we don't see is his. He spoke the universe into beginning. He was there in the beginning. Not he was in the beginning. He has always existed and always will exist. So whereas humans like me and you, we have a limited perspective. We have a limited vantage point. God has infinity times infinity, raised to the infinity power. And that's God. And remembering God's perspective that even though we feel hemmed in, even though we feel hedged in and stuck, kind of one of the points I just made earlier is maybe stuck for now, maybe stuck for just a day or an hour, or in some cases, I'll be honest, years. We feel like we're stuck and there's no way out. But by remembering God's vantage point, that he has the resources, he has the vision, he has the plan, the sovereignty to rule over all of these situations where we see no way out. It's almost like we get stuck in a corner. God said, hey, this way. And that's why it's so important to rely on him. It's so important to trust him. A little bit of sarcasm there. Is the Lord's arm too short to save? Is his ear too dull to hear? And the answer is no in both cases. And that is where I have found peace in this. And even as I was preparing this message, God has opened some doors for me that I did not see coming. And that's so often the case, isn't it? We don't see these things coming because we're not God. We are the created ones worshiping the Creator. And in that there is such peace. Even though the tie seems too tight sometimes, even though the way seems blocked, with God, it's never blocked. And that is an encouragement. And I hope it's an encouragement to you. So my challenge to you is if you're feeling no way out, remember God and remember that his arm is not too short to save and his ear not too dull to hear. What a blessing to serve him. Thank you. We'll see you next week. God bless.